are listening to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about propaganda. On this episode, we are discussing Incalculable Effects, track 10 on 2009 Supporting Caste LP. This is also a reminder that there's an instrumental version of this song on the Propaganda Bandcamp page.
Steve, I'm really excited to talk about Supporting Caste with you because, as everybody out there knows, this is my personal favorite propaganda record. And for this to be the only song we've never talked about on this record at all on the podcast, this is a pretty kind of a special one for me because I get to talk to you about kind of the record as a whole as opposed to just the song we're talking about. So I'm super curious about your Supporting Caste story and experiences because this is for me such a special album in the history of my music fandom.
So when this came out, I obviously listened to it right when it first came out. And I think the first song I heard from it was Coach's Corner. But this came out at a time when I was like as deep as I possibly could be into my power metal era.
Oh, interesting.
So I didn't really spend as much time with this record when it came out as the previous propaganda records.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I listened to it and I liked it, but I pretty much kind of had moved away from like actively listening to punk rock during this era, and I was exclusively listening to power metal, which I almost still only exclusively listen to power metal. But I've since come back and within the last 4 or 5 years, maybe even 6 years, really gone back and dove into all the stuff that I'd missed. And I really regret sleeping on this when it did come out because it's such a special record.
It is. It's a profound record for me. It was the type of thing where I never would have really expected this because Potemkin City Limits was such a slow burn for me that I'm only really now coming to appreciate the totality of what Potemkin City Limits is. And I've been making a podcast about this band now for like 3 years. So coming off of Potemkin City Limits, which was probably, I guess, too much for me or too experimental, too new. If you look at stuff like Cut Into the Earth, Life at Disconnect, Fidelis Hearst, Fixed Frequencies, I was not ready for any of those songs on Potemkin. So that record was a lot more work for me, as opposed to something like Today's Empires. So this one, to have a record grab me so instantly with its might and greatness was a really spectacular experience for me because I don't know, whenever they announced that they were getting a fourth member before this record, I was kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. But then whenever this record came out, it really showed to me that they had just kind of gone up a level with the addition of David Gillis. So this is a really great one. When this came out, I was living in England. So I was abroad and I got to see a few shows on the tour, but I did the Hassel Records pre-order for this album and it came in the mail. I got the t-shirt with the boots stomping on the human faces, the black shirt with the white design on the front of it. And it was really cool. And it blew me away instantly out of the gate with Night Letters. I really couldn't believe what I was hearing. And then when they announced a tour in the UK, I got to see a few shows for the band supporting this tour. One of them was at Islington Academy in Islington, London, and the band Random Hand from the UK opened up. And I saw one of the shows where Clive from Black Widow came out and they did Come to the Sabbath. And then the other one that I saw was at the University of Saskatchewan's campus with Rebel Spell opening. And I actually got to interview Chris backstage for the Sheaf, the University of Saskatchewan newspaper, for the Supporting Caste tour. And I think I don't know what happened to that recording. It's on an old laptop that died somewhere. And we talked about Without Love, and I kind of got into like the personal dynamics of the lyrics and things like that in the record, which I saw as being sort of a new direction, right? If you read like lyrics like Last Will and Testament, or Without Love, or This Is Your Life, there's a lot of family that starts popping up in the band's catalog around this time. And so I know that, there's things like But Wait a Minute, Dad from the earlier records, but this record kind of showed me a new direction where you get into the dynamics of family and relationships and interpersonal stuff within your own personal life. And so to me, this record was a step in a more personal direction, in a lot of ways. And it comes with the territory of getting older. But the show in London was absolutely unreal. And until I saw them in Winnipeg in 2021, I would have said that the London show was my favorite propaganda show I'd ever seen. 6 of the 14 songs that they played at that London show were from supporting cast. And I looked up the set list and I actually saw them play Life at Disconnect, Bringer of Greater Things that night, which was really cool. And so, but it's also crazy to me that a propaganda headlining show in 2009 during this record was only 14 songs long. And I'm wondering if, because they played songs like Speculative Fiction and the songs supporting cast, which are longer tunes, that the longer tunes led to the shortened or the lesser amount of songs that get performed in the night. But I love this era of the band live. I love this record completely and fully. It's my favorite record of all time in all of music. So this is a really big one for me.
I think in terms of the 14 songs thing, having seen them a number of times, I think they definitely subscribe to the leave every show with everyone wanting more. Like they never overstay their welcome.
Yeah.
And they all, like, at the end of the show, you're like, oh man, I want more. And yeah. I think that's something that so many bands can probably learn from.
Yeah. And at that London show, one of the most distinct memories I have of it are them opening up with the song Supporting Cast with like that ringing in of the cymbals. And then that wah, wah, that rising guitar build that leads into where the song kicks in itself. And Chris had his hat real low. And then so I just have really distinct memories of them opening up with the song Supporting Cast. And I also remember the encore, which Clive from Black Widow came out. It was really cool. They announced who he was. It was really amazing to see them play Come to the Sabbath. But then they closed after Clive went off stage. They played Purina Hall of Fame and just blew the roof off the place. And I know that Frank Turner, the UK singer-songwriter, was in the crowd as well, because he and I talked about that show on the podcast on like episode 12 or something. Yeah. But man, what an amazing era of the band live. Just untouchable. So, and I also recently got the supporting cast reissue that they did on Bandcamp, where they did the Bandcamp vinyl campaign. So I don't know. This is just the one for me.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely up there in terms of my favorite propaganda records as well. I mean, I have a little bit more connection with the ones that I spent more time with when they originally come out, and I saw them on the tours. But for an album that I didn't see this tour, and I only kind of really came into it later because, power metal. But I do love this record.
Nice. Do you want to do our, like we did on our last episode, where we closed out Potemkin City Limits, we did a little ranking. And I'm not opposed to visiting more songs with you off of Potemkin or supporting cast in the future. Like, I feel like you and I could do a really great iteration episode one day. I feel like you and I could do a really great Without Love episode someday. But for all intents and purposes, this is the last song from this record that has not been represented in any way. So I feel like if we're going to follow up with our Potemkin little thing that we did last time, we ranked our top 5 from the record. I loved your idea of doing that. So are you excited to do that again for supporting cast?
I cannot wait because I'm just based off of hearing you talk. I have a strong feeling that our top fives are completely different.
Oh, yes, yes, because that kind of happened last time, but we had like a really specific overlap last time on our Potemkin list. So I'm really excited to see where we converge and diverge on this one. So do you want to go ahead and start off with your fifth favorite song from supporting cast?
So my fifth and fourth, they can be interchangeable at any moment. But for the purpose of right now, my fifth favorite song on this record is "This Is Your Life."
Ooh, cool. Okay, tell me why.
That song, like the intensity in that song,
Yeah.
is just second to none. Like Todd just brings it in
Yep.
that song. And it's up there with among my favorite Todd songs. So I had to put it in the top five. Like I said, it could be number four, it could be number five, depending on the day, but it's such a strong song. The intensity, the message, everything in that song is awesome.
Yeah, dude, you know, when we made the This Is Your Life episode, I was going through such a weird time. I was separated in a marriage like recently, like that week. The week we recorded was like whenever my former partner and I separated. And I was also going through a reconciliation process with my family and my extended family after a period of like kind of estrangement. So to have a song be about family that week for me in my personal life, like that episode was so cathartic to record for me. And it was like the time and place could not have been more perfect. So that to me is like the most symbolic thing about this song for me is like the time whenever we get to talk about what I was going through in my own life. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense. I find it's such a relatable song. Like there it's I feel like it's almost impossible to listen to it, go through like dive into the lyrics and not relate to it in some way.
Yeah, yeah. And if you think about the fact that in 2009 he's talking about like people ranting and raving about political events in the world, and then dissecting it further and be like, that's not what you're really mad about. What you're mad about is far more personal and far more inside of your own contentedness with your own existence. And like everything that you bring up and lash out about related to the society around you is really you just like screaming your own insecurities into the world. So that to me is like one of my favorite things about this song, as well as the way that it brings up some of the loudest people out there are some of the most deeply insecure and in pain people that there are. And instead of addressing that pain, they're just like lashing out and like turning into like Facebook warriors,
Projection is a very like there's a like a projection epidemic happen like that's out there. Like, if you go on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, it's just people projecting constantly and trying to make other people feel bad. Like,
Yeah.
it sucks.
Yeah. And how this record is like 14 years old at this point is like disgusting to me, but it's also just only gotten worse, that detail within the song. Okay. So for me, my fifth favorite song on this record is the song Potemkin City Limits. To me, this song did not stand out for a long time. I knew that it was an important song on the record because it's the title track of the previous record, which I thought was very weird and
love
fascinating.
It,
yeah. It's just so interesting to me that you would have a title track for a record, get cut from the record, and then go on the next record 4 years later, but then keep the name for the previous record. Like I just completely loved that. So to me, it wasn't like a musical standout. Like a song like Tertium Non-Dater, Night Letters, Supporting Cast, or Without Love. It's not like one that like musically blows my mind, but to me, the really important one is his mother's loving eyes upon him. It's like the message within and the love and care that parents and families have. That to me was the thing that really makes this one my fifth favorite song. Is just it's just 100% that standalone lyric in the song, and the way that it's delivered is an emotional roller coaster, big time. So that's why it's my fifth favorite.
I mean, I have that song ranking on the lower end of the album for me, but it's kind of like a weird thing to say. It's like there's not any bad songs on this record. Like it's a great record. So like being on the lower end of this record is still higher than most songs on most records.
Completely correct. This song that we're going to talk about after this, Incalculable Effects, is in like my bottom three, my bottom two maybe on this record. And so I totally get it, because I love Incalculable Effects. And so I completely get it, that even if something is in your bottom quartile for this record, that it can still be absolutely amazing. So what is your number 4?
So my number 4 for this one is Funeral Procession.
Oh, yes. Yes. I'm so glad you put this on there. Okay. Tell me about Funeral Procession, because I did not make that episode with you.
So the opening riff, awesome. Like Chris just gets you right away. The subject matter of the song, super relatable. The riff at specifically 208, awesome, love it,
amazing. Okay.
And then I love how the outro kind of goes into the next song as well. Like I think it's
with
awesome.
The acoustic.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, it leads right into Without Love. It's perfection.
Yeah, I think the sequencing of this and Without Love together, it's such a well-constructed album from beginning to end, and the sequencing of it is very intentional, and I like that. And I like just how Funeral Procession kind of ties in like the latter part of the record with the beginning part of the record, if that makes sense. And but yeah, it's such a great song. Like lyrics, music, everything about that song is great.
Yeah, we had a really good chat, Keith and I, about that song. It was really amazing. Like the confusion and questions left strewn in the wake lyric is something that I'll never forget, because I went into a big long thought on that episode about why is there confusion and questions. Did the person who has passed away, did they kill themselves, right? Is this a suicide song? And so I was also really happy that in Chris's Patreon, he's doing gathering questions right now for an Ask Me Anything episode on Patreon, and somebody asked a question about this song. So Chris, if you hear this, please talk about Funeral Procession on your podcast, because it's a great one. And I had a really good experience making that episode as well, even though it was hard content.
Sorry, if I could just go back to a lyric here, like the
totally.
sitting on my hands, hoping anyone else than me will do what should be done.
Yes.
I'm like, that right there. You could take that and just it's maybe one of the most relatable lyrics that Chris has ever written, because every single person, regardless of what you do, has similar thoughts and can relate to that.
Yes, absolutely. I am not a brave person. In fact, I'm quite cowardly in most ways. I am conflict averse to a fault, in relationships and in work experiences. So I completely connect with that lyric as well. So I'm really glad that you brought that up, because now I'm wanting to like add this to my top 5. I'm not changing my list. I'm not going to cheat. But now I wish that I had put that on my list, because it's so good. But I love that you chose Funeral Procession for number 4 and talked about the outro into the next song, Without Love, because coincidentally, Without Love is my number 4 on this record. For ages, I would have said that Without Love was my favorite song on the record. It's a song that is likely many Propagandist fans' favorite song by them ever. And you know, it's such an important song. The lyric that stands out to me really is "How long till the day my memories of him finally fade away?" Because all of my grandparents have passed away. My first grandfather died in 1988 when I was like 5. I'm the only grandchild that ever got to meet him while he was alive, and I've got like 10 or 12 cousins that never got to meet him at all. But I have like maybe 1.5 memories of him that kind of stick in my brain. And then my other grandparents passed away between like 2005 and 2013. And the amount of things that I have already forgotten about relationships with my grandparents is like stunning. Really intense how many things I have already forgotten. It's very startling. So I really love this song because of the it like encourages me to cling to whatever memories I may have and try to reinforce them and work on retaining them instead of just allowing them to disappear forever.
I could not agree more. This song is also in my top 5, but I'm obviously not going to tell you where it is
That's
because
fine.
we're not there yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, like equal insanely relatable, whether it be with family members, also with pets too. Like it's everywhere. Like next week, I believe it's next week, and honestly, like the time period is pretty much, my memory of it is just so like I can't even unlock it in my brain because of like I've got some like deep trauma here with this, but like because I literally can't even remember. I'm pretty sure it's next week, but it's the 15th anniversary next week of my mom passing away.
Mm.
So, but like it's so like I can't even remember specifically which day because that whole period of my life is just like I actually cannot remember it. My brain will not let me. So, it's an extremely relatable song, in
Mm-hmm.
that aspect for me, even listening to it now during this, time and place with that anniversary coming up. It's it can be heavy, man.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Coach's Corner.
Ooh, sweet. Okay, nice.
So this one here, like I do feel a connection with Chris in this because obviously we have a similar kind of background in terms of our connection to hockey and the sport and everything like that, and our complete disdain for Don Cherry.
Yeah.
And I do a little bit relate to him, the whole kind of narrative of him kind of appealing to Ron McLean, being like, hey man, you should know better than this, like. And because growing up, Saturday nights, all you did was watch Hockey Night in Canada. Like that's all we did.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was probably around 10 or 11, I was staying with a family in Quebec City at a hockey tournament, like an away tournament. So I was living with a family there for a little bit. And I remember them, like they're full French, but they would put on the CBC feed to see Coach's Corner, just to see what Don Cherry was talking about. So then they could inevitably complain about how much they hated Don Cherry.
Mm-hmm.
And so people disliking Don Cherry has been almost as big as part of like my Hockey Night in Canada experience as watching actual Hockey Night in Canada. So when this song came out, I was immediately able to connect with it because having to deal with his overt politicization and militarization of Hockey Night in Canada is insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why this song, it's up there. Like, and honestly, like I popped hard with when the intro clip happened at the beginning when I first heard the record when it came out. And then the opening of the song just rips as well.
Yeah.
Like straight up rips. That riff is
Yeah.
a 10 out of 10 riff.
Oh yeah. It's such an amazing song too, because it's got that subplot of bringing up Chris's niece. Like he brings up his grandfather. Todd talks about his dad. Chris brings up his niece. I mean, there is so much family and personal stories in this record. Like that to me is one of the most essential ways that I connect with it. So Chris singing about, what it's like to be an uncle put into a weird situation of just wanting to hang out with your kid, hang out with your niece at a hockey game and show her something that you love and that is a part of you, and then being like exposed to this like ceremonial procession, and then being like, what do I do? This is like a dilemma. Do I address it? Do I not address it? Like if I don't address it, what is the message that is sent to her about what is going on here? And the confusion of what it's like to raise children is so interesting to me as well, considering Chris, I don't remember exactly how old Chris's oldest son is, but I know that Chris became a parent either right around this record or very shortly thereafter, because of the song Unscripted Moment on Failed States. Is obviously about being a dad, but I don't know, I feel like this is like this subplot of the band, about family. So like that to me is one of the core components of this album, is writing about what it's like to be in a family and those interpersonal dynamics,
And I love the whole that whole family aspect of the song, and with his niece. What I would love to appeal to Chris is, I want a follow-up song about not whether dealing directly with his niece or maybe talking to his kids, but about all of the stuff happening right now in terms of hockey culture and the stuff with Hockey Canada, and how to navigate your love of the game when it's come out that it's really, the culture involving it is really awful, and people have done some really horrific things, and it's very difficult to celebrate the thing you love while kind of separating all of that bad stuff out of it, when that bad stuff is so ingrained in it. And not to go on a rant here, but having the conversation with my wonderful partner Zoe, and she has a niece who's, I think, 9 or 10 years old, who loves hockey and looks up to all the Leafs and all the players and everything, and all these young women are playing hockey who are watching NHL players. What is it like for them to kind of have to navigate the world and the culture surrounding everything that's going on, with the Canadian junior team and their horrific treatment of women and stuff like that. I would love for Chris to take on this subject on another song at some point, because I think it's very important, and I think ultimately he's having that same inner conflict too, with his love of the game and the supporting of the culture.
Yeah, he made a couple of tweets and posts about it as well, a while back, so that's good. So my number 3 is Night Letters, purely because of for me, the musical impact that this song had on me, grabbing me out of the gate when this record opened, and me being like, what is happening? I can scarcely believe my ears. So the riff under like the lyrics, like on fire with war, that riff is crazy. I love the marching riff, like the and then it's just so powerful, and it just makes me feel like I can accomplish anything. You know what I mean? Like if I was running, I feel like I could run through the side of a house whenever I'm listening to that song. It's Todd's only album opener in their discography, which is super special. The storytelling is very vivid, and if you read the liner notes of the album, Todd has a little blurb where he writes, "Nothing has changed my life for the better as much as working and volunteering with refugees that have come to Winnipeg from all over the world." So this is a super meaningful one to Todd that is, based on his getting into the world and working with people who are from all over the place with all kinds of experiences and listening to their stories with an open heart, and then processing his own good fortune in the world and how good his life really is. And so that to me is a really powerful and positive message. So even though the song has scary, vivid imagery, to me, it's about Todd, one of Todd's most profound moments of growth in his own life. So I really love that for him. So the music rocks, and Todd gets to write about his own experiences of growing as a person, which I think that should be everybody's objective, is growth.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. The riff at 204 just absolutely lights me on fire. It's so good. But like Todd songs just go hard.
You're a Todd guy.
And I love it. It's really hard to deny just how hard the Todd songs go.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. Okay, so tell me your number 2.
So my number 2 is going to ultimately reveal my number 1 as well, because here we are. But number 2 has a special place in my heart. Number 2 is Banger's Embrace.
Oh, yes. Awesome. Okay, a total outlier. Tell me a little bit about this.
So this song is so relatable because obviously it's about the sacrifice pilgrimage, this song.
Mm-hmm.
So multiple ways in that. Super relatable because my wonderful partner Zoe, her dad, so my father-in-law, basically used to play with sacrifice a ton back in the 80s. He's played probably 6 shows with sacrifice. So there's that little connection there. But also, I can't even tell you the amount of times that I've made these same type of pilgrimages to see bands play. And those are some of my best memories have been on those like journeys, like I think it was 2001. Yeah, I think it was 2001, right? Sometime after like 9/11 or happened, or so right around that time, I went to we drove down to Asbury Park to see the first show on the Turbo Negro reunion tour. And it was like one of my fondest memories is going to that tour. Like they opened for Queens of the Stone Age, and I can't even tell you I watched a single Queens of the Stone Age song because I was just so jazzed to be there for the and to be able to see Turbo Negro. So I think it's such a relatable song in that way because being music fans, which one of us haven't? Like you're about to make a similar pilgrimage this week to go see Metallica at Montreal.
So excited.
So like, I remember times when my buddies and I, we used to work public works doing like road work, and like our hours were 7:30 to 4:30 every day. And a couple buddies I worked with, we drove after work one day. It was like a Tuesday. We drove after work to Ottawa to see Hatebreed Poison the Well in Ottawa, except it was a show where Hatebreed got stuck at the border and they arrived like 6 hours after the show started. And then so they didn't go on till super, super late. So we watched Hatebreed and then we drove back literally straight to work the next morning without going back home. So we left work and then went to a show and then straight back to work. And now I think of that and I'm like, my body would not be able to handle that. I would crumble at that.
Dude, what's so crazy is I saw that Hatebreed Poison the Well tour in Columbia, Missouri on that same tour.
That's wild.
It's amazing. I think that who else opened up? Was it What Feeds the Fire? Bane?
It may have been different between the US and the Canadian shows though, because not all the bands came across. So I want to say maybe No Warning played the Ottawa show. I could just ask Sean Scallon, who I ask everything because he obviously put on that show, and I did not come prepared to talk about that story. But But yeah, I remember seeing that and going back straight to work the next morning. And again, I have so many experiences that I can relate to this Bangers Embrace song, because so many times I've done these trips for random shows to see these bands that I've loved.
Gotcha. Cool. I love that you have Bangers Embrace as your number 2, because we started this podcast with that song for all of those exact same reasons, talking about the meaning of music, what these types of songs and experiences and shows meant to us in the grand scheme of our lives. So that's exactly why I started the podcast with that particular song, because of how pure and lovely and delightful, and childlike almost and I don't mean childish, I mean childlike, the song actually is. So I love that choice. And I love that I've revisited Bangers Embrace several times throughout the podcast. I'm actually sort of planning behind the scenes a Bangers Embrace deluxe episode, which will be like 5 hours long, where I kind of like compile all of the different Bangers Embrace parts into one big whole. It's like a standalone thing to kind of celebrate the immensity of what that song has been able to do, because there's like 4 parts now to the Bangers Embrace song on the podcast.
And anyone who's involved in music in any way can relate to that song so easily.
Yeah, exactly. So my number 2 is Tertium Non-Dater. The lyrics are absolutely stunning, and the fact that we can hear the music in its original form from Beeves' band Giant Sons is very unique and satisfying to me. It's like seeing the earlier version of Nation States, or like an alternative version of State Lottery from like live soundboard recordings, or the earlier version of Fuck the Border, the way they sang the chorus differently. I love seeing songs that have like a lifespan, like Tertium Non-Dater. Tertium Non-Dater was also our first band interview. We had Sue Lin on the podcast to talk about this particular song, and the way that Sue Lin talked about why the music was special in this song was really fascinating. And then we also talked to Robbie and David Tkach and David Gillis. We've had all members of Giant Sons on the podcast who have commented on this particular song, including a full hour with David Tkach from Giant Sons. If anybody didn't hear Tertium Non-Dater Part 2, that's a really overlooked and fantastic conversation if you love this song as much as me. And I got to see Propaganda on this tour in Saskatoon whenever they were supporting this record. And since I got to interview Chris, I actually got to watch Soundcheck, and I got to watch them play Tertium Non-Dater 2 times all the way through during Soundcheck, which leads me to believe that they were kind of struggling with pulling this one off live, and that they were practicing relentlessly to make sure this one came across live, because this is not an easy song. Even though it's not like a fast blazer, it's a very complicated and challenging tune. So Tertium Non-Dater is my number 2.
That I like the song. It's in my bottom third.
Amazing. That is unacceptable, but I respect it, because I think that it's bold of you to say that.
It's a good song. You know what I mean?
I know, it's on supporting cast.
But I just didn't connect with it the same way that I connected with other songs. And I think at the end of the day, it's subjective, and what we connect with and what we don't connect with is. So anyways, that's where that one sits for me.
All right, tell me your number 1.
I mean, my number 1 is super obvious because I already gave it away. My number 1 is Without Love.
Okay, sweet. I mean, you sort of commented on that as well because of the personal nature of the anniversary of your mother. And so there's a lot there for you. I can already tell.
Yeah, like between that and like you said, like all of my grandparents passed away. Like my first one passed away when I was 12 years old. And like when my mom passed away 15 years ago, like her father, my grandfather, passed away 3 weeks after she did, or 4 weeks after she did. So, and then my last grandparent passed away like 2 years ago. She was 97. And I spent a ton of time with her, but I never met my grandfather on that side. He passed away in the 70s. So, and then I had some really, really traumatic pet deaths as well that I still working over. But it's such, I don't know, it's such a beautiful song. And I think that overall, it's up there in the top 3 propaganda songs for me.
Well, since Chris sang about his cat Kronos, who he named after Kronos from Venom, I have a cat named Chris, obviously named after Chris from Propaganda. And so here's my little baby bad boy right here. So this is my little Chrissy. He's a goofball. He's a big baby. Yes, he is. And so he ran away. He's like, bye, dickhead. So anyway, so there's my little buddy right there.
Oddly enough, speaking of things named after Chris, so you know how Chris's his guitar was the Green Machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my brother was such a huge Propaganda fan that he named his guitar the Green Machine, but it was a full-blown red guitar.
Mm.
And he just called it the Green Machine because Chris called his the Green Machine. And it was always so hilarious.
Nice. Well, what a great overview of your top 5. My favorite song on this record is Supporting Caste. On any given day, this could be my favorite Propaganda song of all time. And it is such a relief to me that we did an episode about Supporting Caste that I absolutely went as hard as I possibly could on. So if anybody wants to hear my full effort for talking about a song, please go back and listen to our Supporting Caste episode that we did. The guest on that episode is Wabgishig Rice. The wonderful Wab is he's got a new novel coming out, so I just wanted to make sure that everybody's continuing to support Wabgishig Rice's novels. But I love the song Supporting Caste so much. No song hits me harder musically. I think that the vocal delivery is like indescribable. Seeing this song live, I kind of like have a transcendent experience watching it. And I completely cannot stand the fact that I haven't seen them play this song live in so long. But Supporting Caste is my favorite song off the record, Supporting Caste.
I mean, that's it. You can't go wrong with that choice. Like the quiet part in that song is so underrated.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a good song musically, and then the riff that comes in after the quiet part just blows you away.
I know. I don't know. And my favorite moment of all time in Propaganda is the yes into that riff. So like those like 12 seconds right there are it's my favorite portion of recorded Propaganda ever. So anyway, I'll refrain from commenting overly on Supporting Caste. If you want to hear me talk about that song, please go listen to the multi-hour long conversation that we did on that episode. But yes, we did our top 5 Supporting Caste. So mine are, just a reminder, Potemkin, Without Love, Night Letters, Tertium Non-Dater, and Supporting Caste. You want to just say yours one more time?
Mine are 5, This Is Your Life, 4, Funeral Procession, 3, Coach's Corner, 2, Banger's Embrace, 1, Without Love.
Nice. Well, should we go ahead and get into our wonderful guest for this episode?
Yeah, I actually almost forgot we had an episode going. We kind of went off for so long on that. I was like, oh, we're done. No, we haven't even started the episode yet.
Amazing. Well, Todd Kowalski is here, which always is such a delight. But I recently had on Todd on the podcast. People may have seen that 27-minute-ish episode that I put out with Todd recently. That was part of a longer episode. Todd and I talked about Propaganda's new record writing process and a little bit about his art. And so definitely go find that in August 2023 episodes. But Todd and I also talked about Incalculable Effects.
I would just like to interrupt for a quick second here, because that episode you did with Todd was awesome. And I think if people didn't listen to it, like, you absolutely need to go listen to it, because Greg and Todd's dynamic is second to none. And I really think everyone needs to just listen to how Greg and Todd communicate, because it's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, our communication styles are like very different. Not that either one is bad, but I'm always worried about interrupting him, and I'm always worried about crosstalk because our paces and the flow of the way that we speak is very different. And we get along great and we love hanging out, but I'm always like chomping at the bit to like ask another question. And so I feel like I always interrupt him mid-thought. But I'm really glad that people seem to have enjoyed that chat with Todd, because it's so much fun hanging out with him. It's just such a thrill for me, get to hang out and just shoot the breeze with the members of my favorite band. Like, what's not to love about that?
Oh, for sure. Like Todd is straight up one of the coolest guys, and I have so much respect for Todd.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I looked at the liner notes. So before we get to Todd's chat, I read the liner notes, and Todd wrote a blurb underneath the lyrics to Incalculable Effects in the LP booklet. And it reads, "You can only go so far to escape the life you have until there's no coming back. The more you try to escape, the more you're trapped. Unfortunately, many of us are stuck helplessly watching our family members waste and destroy a lot of great things about themselves. I hope that you're lucky enough to be among those who cannot relate to the lyrics of this tune." And that's really important for me. That's really important. I think it's really important for everybody to consider that before you hear Todd's comments on this song. If you go back and listen to our joint interview that we did with Todd and his brother Kent Kowalski on the Dark Matters episode, you'll hear more details on their own experiences related to that. And Todd has written about this topic elsewhere too, for example, like on Negretto as well. So this is like part of an ongoing subplot of Todd's work, in my view. And I kind of felt bad like asking him to chat about this song when we already talked about it a lot on Dark Matters. But I'm also just like, this is a recurring theme for Todd. So anyway, I'm really glad that Todd is here. We're going to chat about Incalculable Effects. There will be another short chat with Todd on another song coming up in the future that we also have recorded. So, Steve, let's go ahead and get to Todd, okay?
Can't wait.
We'll talk about Incalculable Effects. And this is another really wild, I call it the Kowalski Ragers. I've got a playlist of all of your like really fast songs, and Incalculable Effects is definitely on there. And this is a really interesting song to me. I listened to it several times recently the other day, and I love the fact that it's got like this musical bookended feel, right? Where there's the opening jam, the riff jam, and then the blasters and like the super hardcore section. And then we go back into like a long outro jam. Tell me a little bit about the structure and the creation of this particular piece, because the way it's put together is really interesting to me.
Yeah, I guess I had that. Yeah, I think the opening riff thing is awesome. I like that. And then I guess it's another one. I was just like, I just wanted to just blast away and almost like, not a grind tune, but just blasting away, having a good time. I think it's just another one where I think the words didn't quite go on. Like, I think the song is better if you just like mute the lyrics, but not the lyrics, but the vocals, But then the middle part, there's some old No Means No song where they kind of sing it monotone, really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I always found that interesting. So the vocal line of the chorus of this song was actually a little more monotone like that. But then I think Chris was saying he thought it should have more ups and downs, which I was like, whatever, like either way, I don't care. And then like I think I remember Bill saying he liked the monotone version better to me actually too, but either way is fine. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't entirely sold on the other one.
Mm. I love the I love that you bring up No Means No too. I love the way they do it. 2 lips, 2 lungs, 1 tongue. Like there are only so many songs that can be sung with 2 lips, 2 lungs, and 1 tongue. Like they do that so well as a band that I'm definitely grooving with that example.
Yeah, so yeah, might even be that song. I think it might be something else, but yeah, that's a good example of that. Yeah, good song. So that like just it's just kind of just that same thing, riffing, and then of course you have to come up with your idea and then make it fit your song. And the faster the song, the harder it is to fit the lyrics in. You know.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what inspires that opening and closing slow jam? Like what were you like thinking about whenever you were making something that was so specifically slow?
I think the first I was just like riffing, playing, you know what I mean? This is cool. And then the end I was definitely thinking of like COC, like Technocracy Animosity era, you know, where they're like doing lots of bends on the bass and like kind of being heavy. And then I was always like Drop Dead and like I don't know if you know Drop Dead, but like their first LP. Yeah, I guess it's trying to go on shit. No Means No, Drop Dead, COC. Just put this batch of stuff together and and then Fate's Warning and stuff. Like there's kind of time change, like suspended chords and time changes and stuff. I don't even know. Yeah. And
you've got a couple of instrumental versions of the demos of this on the Bandcamp as well.
Okay, yeah.
Were you still like kind of putting the vocals on some of your tunes, like in preparation for going to the blasting room? Were these like not quite done yet when you went down?
I think this one was pretty much done, but right at the end,
Mm-hmm.
Like it's another one, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, I was saying to my friend when he was having trouble doing art the other day, he was doing something so crazy in Blender, but he's still disappointed, And I was like, man, how did you just make this? And you're like still disappointed with yourself. But you made this like giant castle, all the assets, everyone has flags, stuff. It's all like, it's fucking insane. And he's sitting there all sad because it's not quite what he wanted. And I'm like, dude, every piece of art that you ever see, every song, like it's not that it's what the artist intended or like really wanted. It's the best they could do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's like everything, like, and like people have a tendency, like if they don't like a song or a person or, like let's say you have a band, they come up with a song you don't like, you find yourself mad at them, like
right.
I hate them, and then it's like, it's just the best they could do, like you like, I don't like new Metallica songs, but like they're doing their best to make like I don't think they're doing it half-hearted, nothing, it's just like right now that's the best Metallica do, and that's and I do find myself like, I don't like them,
Yeah.
just because they can't you know what I'm saying? Like every piece, like that song, it's got so much awesome stuff to it, but it just like little things could have been better, and if those little things were put into place a little better, it'd be like Choice is Killer.
Nice.
Like sometimes it's just this one little thing, like you just couldn't quite get it, or else this would have been like what you want,
Yeah. Something I really like about this song, we were talking about Half Head earlier. Half Head to me is like a miniature series of vignettes about lives that people go through where, their lives take a certain turn. And, Steve and I talked a lot about that on the episode where we shared some examples like that from our own lives where that resonated with us. But this one feels like another tiny little vignette, right? It's a couple of lives. Yeah. that are being lived simultaneously in like an unhoused community, a mother and her child. And I'm wondering if you have any stories that inspired this, the particular writing of the lyrics of this one.
Yeah, that's just kind of based on reality, just kind of like yeah, it's downtown a lot during supporting cast,
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of stuff going on, all like I saw like just so much violence, so many fights, like so much sadness. Yeah, and then plus, yeah, before supporting cast was like when my dad was in my basement too. I'd like like out there's like the song really is about relating to this kid and her mom's like in this state, kind of in public. But for me, I have the same thing basically in my basement, like the same situation in my own house. Just like it's not perceived by society the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Which, yeah, I think that's kind of the idea. It's like yeah, like maybe I got to read the lyrics again, but like that was the impulse, whether it got across or not.
Is was the kid real? Is like the kid like
Yeah.
is it autobiographical kind of, or biographical about a particular kid, or was there kind of like an amalgamation of different kids?
There's usually some kind of amalgamation, but like I remember the scene exactly as it is. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's just like I was volunteering downtown. We had this like market that we made every kind of Saturday, and people bring stuff and sell it or whatever. And yeah, all kinds of crazy stuff was happening and sad stuff. I actually got in a fight in the park too.
Wow.
It's like had to like I had to slam this guy into this woman's tent, and then I was like, I did it as nice as I could, but I had to take care of him, And then I was like, yeah, it's just like, oh, this is, you know what I mean? It was all getting to me, like, yeah, it's just too much chaos, Like it's just like people, like I saw groups of people run into the park with bats beating the shit out of everyone, and I thought they were coming for me because they parked right beside me. You know what I mean? They ran right past me. And I saw a guy kicking the shit out of the guy holding his hair, kicking him in the face, and then I went and actually tried to help the guy, and then the guy thought I was doing it to him, because he didn't know what was happening. He just like looks up at me, please stop or something. And it's just like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
I think that like everything was kind of getting to me at the point of that song. It's kind of coming across and like the kind of darkness of the song.
Yeah, for sure. Just about supporting cast in general, I know that you said on the Dark Matters episode that you really like recording a lot more in Winnipeg. What stands out to you about the experience of going to the blasting room with Bill and Jason? I think you mentioned that a little bit before, but I think I remember you saying that you like recording at home a lot better. What was interesting, or a big takeaway about the recording process from the blasting room that you still think about to this day?
I guess it's just like just me as a person. I need to be like a little more free and not worrying about certain things, while I'm trying to play. Especially like for me, I almost have psychological problems trying to perform under like two, like say I have such memories of like trying to do things like with my dad standing there like insulting me, and like, you know what I mean, like these things that have stopped me from like having any interest in like certain things.
Oh yeah, no, I've
And
got
then
those in my own life for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you like when I'm in a situation where it's like too scrutinous, almost like I stop like inventing, you know what I mean, like it's not the blasting room or the people's problem. It's just like I just feel like it's just easier for me to create if I'm just kind of like standing behind JP or wherever, or jamming, and I'm just doing my thing, like where I feel like I know just at the blasting room, like it's just like so clinical, and they're watching the tuning meters and that, and like so closely, and like worried about it's just a different way of doing things, and it's just
Yeah.
like one's not better than the other per se. It's just for me personally, it's just I just find myself like I start losing where I am in the songs and what I'm doing, because but I just I just find it it's just harder, I guess.
Did Chris, Beeve, and Jord thrive in that environment it differently than you? Like, was it better for any members of the band particularly that you remember?
I don't know. I don't I'm not saying anyone had any like big problems. I think they kind of did well. I didn't hear any complaints, and like I think they just went and did it. They're just I think they seem like they did well.
I mean, it's an amazing record. It's a classic.
And I didn't have that feeling doing the vocals. Like when I got to the vocals, it's just like it's just sitting in a close room with people looking at me like that, just doesn't work for my creative brain, like I think I'm just a different type of person.
Very cool. Well, Todd, I really appreciate your thoughts on where you are in the creative process these days, and your thoughts on Incalculable Effects and the days you hate yourself. It's a real pleasure hanging out, and I'm so glad that things are going great. And we all love your updates, and we're just really grateful here that you continue to keep us in the loop a little bit. But I mean, thanks for this great hangout. I've really had an awesome time this morning.
Yeah, you too. Hey, I was gonna say, just as an addition to what's that song? What song were we talking about a second ago?
Incalculable Effects?
No, and the other one.
Days You Hate Yourself?
No, the other one.
Impending Half-Head?
Yeah. That just the additional notes. The like some of the lines are from a couple of the lines are from Degrassi Junior High, this show.
Oh, sweet.
Like a couple of the parts, if you were to ever watch all the Degrassi series, like from like the old Junior High, like from the 80s, like you'd pick out a couple things, and then like all the insults in the middle are all insults that like people called like me and my friends specifically. And half of them are from my dad. So he's pretty good at that, which like he said to me, he said the funniest shit. But like, so it's like, I think, just kind of a couple little tidbits. Like they're not like random insults, they're like particular insults.
Amazing. Well, and that also connects to the Degrassi Junior High Dropouts, which is like what, track 27 or something of the Where Quantity is Job Number One compilation.
Yeah, I think that thing's awesome, man. I love that version of that thing.
Oh, yeah. It's absolutely wonderful. Well, thank you for clarifying a little bit of the history behind the lyrics of Impending Half-Head, too, because we had a blast making that episode. It was like all of like my high school cringe moments, like on full display in that episode. So I had a really cathartic experience making that episode and kind of digging back into some of those memories from that were, super challenging and relatively humiliating. Being 15, 16, 17. Oh man, that's hard work. But that's really interesting stuff too.
Yeah, I kind of like, for some reason I really like that song, and I feel like it maybe kind of gets a little bit overlooked because maybe people kind of like think it's a joke, like a joke song. And it kind of is, but it kind of isn't at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
Like,
question: would Impending Halfhead or Incalculable Effects ever be songs that could make it into a set list again someday?
I doubt Incalculable Effects would, because it'd be too hard, and I don't know if Chris and George would want to play on it, but I like it.
I like Halfhead too. I was amazed at how much I actually connected with it whenever I like allowed myself to kind of like connect my own memories to the lyrics. I had never really thought about it a whole heck of a lot, because whenever it comes on in the car, I'm just like in rage out mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then whenever I started digging into it, I was like, man, this is really, really incredible and deep. And Steve, my second co-host after Keith left, I brought Steve on board and we're having a blast. And Steve ranked Impending Halfhead in his top 5 on
Right.
Potemkin City Limits as an LP. So Steve is all on board with him with Impending Halfhead too.
Well, that's nice to hear. I guess an extra tidbit is like, for that particular song, all the music was Chris's, just the lyrics were mine.
Oh, sweet. Interesting. Nice.
Yeah. It would have been probably would have been like a more serious and perhaps better song, but whatever.
Man, amazing. Is Incalculable Effects and Days You Hate Yourself, for those music and lyrics by you, or was the music more collaborative, or was it all you?
Well, like to the point of like all like I made all the riffs and whatever. Yeah.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, Todd, great to hang. Thank you so much for your time and energy and stories. I love hanging out, and I'm really excited to show the listeners what you all been up to lately. So thank you so much for being here. All right, welcome back. Coming back out of Todd's conversation just now, you heard a vocal cover of This Is Your Life of Incalculable Effects by podcast listener John Scholefield. John did a vocal cover over the instrumental of this track from the Propaganda Bandcamp demos. John's been a longtime listener of the podcast, so it's fantastic to have him involved on this episode after all these episodes and years. So thank you so much to John for that wonderful vocal cover. I'm so glad that the band has a few instrumentals just like put up on Bandcamp for people to like download. And just if you feel like jacking around, you just throw that thing into your garage band and you just scream your head off in your living room in your house and, you know, see what you sound like on the finished product. I've done it so many times over the course of this podcast, and it's just like such a cathartic release. So I love that the cover for this episode is actually the band backing up one of our listeners, John. So it's really cool, huh?
What I actually would love is to see them take this to the next level and release the songs minus the guitar track, and just have people be able to record their guitar track on top and just watch people just absolutely butcher every one of these riffs so bad, because I would just destroy them to the point where it would be unrecognizable.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's chat about Incalculable Effects. We've been at this for like what feels like an hour at this point, and so we're finally going to chat about the song a little bit. So for the music, I have some observations here. This is a really fascinatingly structured tune because it transitions nicely out of Without Love into this song. But then it's got these three chunks of the song, right? The first 30 seconds are very wild to me because there's nothing else like this, these slow jams in Propagandha's catalog up to that point. And maybe not even since. Like this slow jam on Incalculable Effects feels extremely unique to me in their discography. And it's indicative of like the new changes of like in growth within the band at the time period, adding Beeve, getting a little more experimental and wild. So the first 30 seconds are super interesting. But then there's also the next minute is like the song, like the banger, right? And then the last 39 or 40 seconds is like a really natural, groovy jam. So tell me a little bit about your observations about the structure of this song and what your thoughts are on this. And let me know if you think that I'm completely off base here in seeing this as kind of a unique thing within the band.
No, you kind of nailed it with the three parts and how it being kind of a new change for them essentially. I think it goes while it being different, it's still, because it's a Todd song, it goes hard. Like it's a hard song. And to me, the parts that really, really stand out are, and I think they're going to stand out for you too, but the bends on the guitar at like 3/4 of the way through the song. Oh man, that is,
love them.
It's so unexpected. And I think it really emphasizes the vocal parts that are happening when they're, followed by the bend. I think overall, musically, the song is super challenging, different, but I think it stands out on the record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the bends are my favorite musical part, I think, because of just how it's like a dissonant shock to the system. But it also reminds me of something that like an 80s hardcore band could do. Do you know what I mean? It's like any band from any era can do that. And this song's got this like, it's almost like kind of sleep inspired slow jams in the beginning and end. It's got blast beats. You know what I mean? So it's got a little bit of grindcore influence from Todd's interest in grindcore a little bit. But then it's just got these like those bends, those full bends are so funny. And I loved finding those bends in the Sheet Happens tablature booklet because I was just like, oh, there they are. Because even me with my zero knowledge of the technical aspect of playing guitar can see those full bends in the music. And I just really had a blast with that.
Yeah, like musically, it's such a good song. The actual, we didn't talk about it when we were kind of going through the album, but the recording quality of this album is amazing. It may be my favorite sounding Propagandhi record.
Yeah,
I think George's drums sound huge on this record, and especially during like the blasty parts of this song, there's still enough. Like the quality of the recording is so good that you can still make out the definition of each of what he's doing, and it's not getting like muddy in the sound.
Yeah, I just under the shame, frustration setting in, confusion that burns us inside out. I just can't get over it.
Oh, it's so good.
And all the listeners out there who hate when I sing or probably going to leave an Apple iTunes review right now saying, "Oh God, he won't stop singing." Ugh.
I feel bad for those people, man. If they're trying to rain on your parade, man.
At least they don't have to watch me dance too. Like I'm dancing when I'm singing it the whole time.
Maybe that would make it. Maybe they would dislike it less if they could see you dance too, because I'm watching you sing and dance, and it's great.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad that I can instill some joy on this gloomy early August day. Anyway, so let's chat about the. Do you have any more musical observations? I was kind of keeping it simple on this one.
Yeah, keep it simple. I think the lyrics are good, so I'd like to jump into the lyrics.
Cool. Okay, so let's talk about this this opening section here. We were all together in the pouring rain, solvents being passed around to dull the pain. The air was choked with the dismal smell, the reek of sadness and despair, minds fucked up beyond repair. So this is something that I personally really can't relate to. I am not around addiction or unhoused populations with any frequency or regularity. I live an extremely sheltered and comfortable life. And so this is one where the imagery is very vivid and you can kind of conjure up moments in your own life where you can think about where you may have experienced this. But there was a time in my life where I experienced something kind of reminiscent of this visual that really shook me. I was at a conference for work in San Francisco at a conference called AERA, which is like this huge education conference for teachers and higher ed folks. And the hotel was in a district in San Francisco called the Tenderloin, which I had no idea what it was like whenever we booked the hotel. We just saw that it was within walking distance of the conference center and we booked it. And it turned out the hotel was right next to or like between two addiction treatment centers. And outside the door of the hotel, the sidewalk was completely filled with lines of people in varying stages of active addiction and usage, using publicly in broad daylight right on the sidewalk in front of my hotel door. People in recovery, people in treatment. It was extremely overwhelming. And I had no negative feelings towards any of the people at all, but it was scary for me. And I was very uncomfortable by the amount of human pain, which was like right outside my fancy little boutique hotel while I was at a massive conference with thousands of professors from all over the world. Like I walked out to get to the conference, I had to like wade through a huge crowd of people next to the hotel. And it was very difficult for me, very uncomfortable, very important to experience. And that's kind of what this opening scene in this song reminds me of.
So to elaborate on that, I have not semi-similar experience in San Francisco in the Tenderloin district specifically as well. So I was there in 2018. I was there for, oddly enough, also an education conference.
This is insane.
But the conference I was at was in Oakland. But after I was done in Oakland, I spent some time in San Francisco because I just, while I was there, I'm like, I might as well take a vacation. But I actually went into Tenderloin because the Thrasher magazine store is at 66 6th Avenue in the Tenderloin in San Francisco. And I remember parking my rental car across the street from it. And I remember leaving the store after I went in. I was in there for, I want to say, less than 5 minutes. It's a super small store. And I came out and there was a number of people trying to break the parking meter that I'd parked at with a pipe to get the change out. And it was a scene almost to a T of what you described, of having to walk through droves of people, and just the immense sadness that was in that area was something that I don't know if I've ever been able to kind of replicate or see elsewhere. And just to go one step further with regards to the addiction thing, I am super relatable in that I had when I first moved to Toronto, I dated a girl whose father was very suffering from addiction very, very badly. And he worked at the nuclear power plant. And it was so sad to just watch basically his entire life fall away. And like, there's nothing that you could try. And the amount of times, like, I had to take him to the hospital or go take him to a detox center or what have you. It really, shed light on one, how hard it is to get help when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the systems are set up in a place where it denies people help. And then truly, number two, it's unless you really want to change, it's not possible to change.
Yeah.
You can't change if someone else is telling you to change. You have to want it yourself. So
yeah,
like that stuff was extremely difficult to navigate. And it was just so incredibly sad for so long.
Yeah. Well, and how 8 years later on Victory Lap, Todd writes on Negretto about how when a person can decide that they do want to change, but how it's often too late. So the revelation comes past the tipping point for a lot of times. And the shockwave that sends through a community or through a family, an extended family. Because if you think about the people passing around the solvents in this particular song, every single person passing around the solvent likely has people out there that care about their lives, but just have no ability to reach them anymore or solve the problem for them anymore. So the shockwaves of like addiction and death and everything like that spread through a family, and that pain is carried for years and years about the inability to solve this issue facing somebody that they love but don't know how to help.
I think, not to get too far away from it, but when I was kind of going through this song a lot recently, and somehow something popped up in my YouTube algorithm, and I watched it. It was the guy's name is Peter something Santarelli or something like that. Anyways, he does some like documentaries about cultures so he did. I watched one the other day about him visiting Appalachia, rural Appalachia, and talking about the drug and addiction problem in Appalachia, and hearing the people in that show talk about how it's affected their lives and their families' lives and the community pretty much is this song to a T.
Mm-hmm.
I would highly recommend watching it. I'll send you the link after if you have some time, but when you get back from Montreal. But it's very well done, and it really kind of sheds light onto how awful it could, and how much it affects not just the people around you, but like the community as a whole.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the next part of the song where it talks about the kiddo. She said she just turned 6. She's got some good jokes for a kid. She's working hard to avoid a woman bleeding from her teeth. Her life goes on despite the fact her mom sleeps fucked up on the cement. Okay, so Todd comes in on the next line after that, but you've talked a little bit about just a few minutes ago about your experience of knowing someone watching their own parent struggle with addiction. And I would imagine that amidst that, the person probably was also looking for a little bit of, joy in life. Like, this kid is still a kid and she's cracking jokes, and she knows which people in the group are not physically safe for her to get close to. So she's avoiding certain people. So we got a super street smart little kid who, even though her situation is super crappy, is still cracking jokes to Todd. You know what I mean? So that's pretty wild. Like any kid that has seen their parent engaging in self-destructive behavior kind of has that in common to a certain degree with a lot of other people in the world. And so, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about this next line, introducing the kid?
So I think it's super relatable in that, she's 6, but she's far beyond the years of 6 years old. And I think, in situations where parents, whether it be operating in destructive behaviors, or whether even being parents with just general health issues that have kind of taken them away from being able to do like parental things, I think, in any of those situations, I think kids are forced to grow up far faster than the traditional trajectory for a child's development. And I think it's overlooked a lot.
Well, I got some stats on that exactly, because this is all too common. A 2017 study from Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration says that based on data between 2009 and 2014 national surveys on drug use and health, about 1 in 8 children, or 8.7 million, age 17 or younger, lived in households with at least one parent who had a past year substance use disorder. And substance use disorder is characterized by recurrent use of alcohol or other drugs, or both, that result in significant impairment. And 1 in 10 children, or 7.5 million, live in households with at least one parent who had a past year alcohol use disorder. About 1 in 35 children, over 2 million, lived in households with at least one parent who had a past year illicit drug use disorder. And a 2020 study said that in an average year from 2015 to 2019, more than 21 million children in the U.S. lived with a parent who misused substances, and more than 2 million lived with a parent who had a substance use disorder. And living with a parent who had a substance use disorder varied by child age, race, ethnicity, and urbanicity. And children younger than 12 had a higher likelihood of living with parents with SUD than children 12 and older. And states varied in the number and percentage of children living with parents who had an SUD. States range from less than 1% of children in Nebraska to nearly 5% in Maine. So there's a little bit of information that I was able to find based on some statistics related to children who live with children who are parents who struggle with addiction in some way, or are currently using, or have in the past.
Man, that's crazy.
I know. And if you think about those numbers, right, like 1 in 8 children age 17 or younger had at least one parent who had a past year substance use disorder. That's 8.7 million kids in 2014 in the US. And if you think about the entire population of Canada in the year 2014, we're talking about 31 million, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about almost a third of the entire population of Canada, the equivalent of kids that are living in some form of substance use disorder household in 2014 in the US. And I cannot imagine that with all of the tremendous amounts of change that the world has gone through since 2014, that number has improved a whole heck of a lot. In fact, I would imagine it's pretty bleak.
Oh, I agree. I really wish I would have been more prepared and been able to get similar stats for Canada to that you just kind of extracted for the US.
But they're so easy to find. Do you know what I mean? Like anybody out there listening can go and find it right now in the blink of an eye. And I would 100% encourage anybody out there to find the stats related to their own country, because we have listeners all over the world. So go find out, because it illuminates a little bit. And then we got this next thing. She flashed a look, an image burnt into my mind. I know that sinking feeling all too fucking well. Shame, frustration setting in, confusion that burns us inside out. So Todd brings himself into the song here, and this is a very literal depiction of a scene that Todd experienced in his own life. And so this is whenever you get out into the world and you kind of like notice and see pain and frustration in the world, it leaves you with these visuals. And so this is a very literal thing that Todd is describing here from his own personal lived experience, which makes it really interesting.
Yeah, it's again one of those things when you have that, and you interact with people who are impacted by addiction and things like this. You have these moments where, like Todd had, where you just kind of it's this not outer body moment, but like you just remember, whether it be something someone said or the look on their face in those given situations while they're talking about or dealing with that situation, that you just never forget. So extremely relatable.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, then we bring the kid back in, or the I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why she can't wake up. Her life goes on despite the fact her mom lays fucked up on the cement. It's an ugly fucking world. And to me, that line really speaks for itself, about that closing line, because quality of life is hard to attain and getting harder, it seems like. So I don't know, with the endless war around the world and the difficulty with mental health maintenance in the world for just normal ordinary people, the world feels pretty gosh darn ugly sometimes.
I could not agree more. It's very difficult to even see the light sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, do you have any more thoughts or comments on the lyrics, or any reflections that you're thinking about that are standing out to you?
I think I've talked enough.
Okay. Well, we've got I got a YouTube comment. One person says, "Oh, hell yeah." I encourage everyone to read these lyrics if you haven't already. What a brutal song. Todd's songs are such a kick in the gut. And so I mean, obviously I agree with that. You agree with that. You mentioned your takeaways with relation to This Is Your Life earlier on the same exact record. And on our last episode where we talked about Todd, you were very, very, for Impending Halfhead, you were extremely complimentary of Todd. So Todd just has a way of setting a scene and getting you to look into the experiences of people whose lives differ from yours a little bit. He's really powerful at that. So I love this comment too.
And he's such a visual songwriter. Like all his songs, I feel like I can see exactly what he's talking about so vividly.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me a little bit of a takeaway that you've got for this song, and kind of what are some concluding thoughts you've got in relation to Incalculable Effects?
Honestly, my takeaway is that it's just such a relatable song due to experiences that I've lived and seeing people struggle. It kind of made me feel like, what, you're not alone in this. Everyone goes through this at one point or another. Everyone is affected by this. So it's just so sad, man. It sucks. Like,
yeah. This song makes me feel a lot of gratitude for how normal and boring my own life and family is and was. And despite our flaws, I never have had to watch my immediate family members totally self-destruct in front of me. So I'm very grateful for that boredom, essentially. Some people in my extended family haven't been quite so lucky, like a few, layers of the onion out within my family. There's been a couple of issues here and there, but the people who have struggled have managed to battle their way back within my family. So this song just has me feeling extraordinarily fortunate, grateful, and lucky that that I cannot relate to the lyrics of this song, which Todd writes in the liner notes, and so I can't relate. So that's where I'm standing on this one. What about do you have a rating for this tune out of 5? What is your ranking for Incalculable Effects in the entire discography of Propaganda?
So I actually really like this song. It's not in my top 5 on this record, but it's pretty close just because of how relatable it is. And again, because it's a Todd song and I love Todd songs. But I'm going to give this one a 3.5.
All right, cool.
Where it's in the upper tier.
Cool. Nice. Would you say this one's in your top 50% on this record? Top 60?
Oh, easily top 50%.
Oh, easily top 50. Okay. I dig it.
It might be my number 6.
Sweet.
So yeah, it's up there.
Cool. Nice. Well, I love the uniqueness of the riffing intro and outro up to this point in the band's work. I think that slow intro and outro with the jammy feel is really cool. I love Todd's little note in the liner notes. If I had to rank this song on the record, this most perfect of perfect records, I would say this is not in my top half. I would say it's probably in my bottom couple. But it still completely rules. And this one, to give a tiny little spoiler, may have likely come up against The Days You Hate Yourself as far as making the record goes, which was also recorded as well during this session and was not used for the record, but then went on the Failed States Deluxe Edition down the road. So in all of Propaganda, I'm going to give this one a 2.25.
Wow. That's low.
Yeah. I mean, kind of, but like, I don't know. I just, that's what my gut is telling me. My completely unscientific, totally insane, moronic, inclination. So if anybody out there is really angry at me for my 2.25 on this one, just consider this the pitchfork of Greg rankings on this one, where I bash a total rager because I didn't bash it. I like this song a whole lot. But in the entire 100+ song discography, I'm going to give this one a 2.25. So it's in my bottom half, but still better than many.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you think you would have a different rating for this song if you had direct familial experience with addiction?
Oh, absolutely. Completely. I mean, because the visuals are so clear, right, in the writing, and the way that Todd talks about the situation that he can picture that he wrote the song about, that all strikes with me big time. But I don't personally have this experience, so it's never really grabbed me as far as one of the songs on the record. Like, I never skip it whenever it comes on. The song's so short, I just like it plays through. And but yeah, so I think that there's a lack of personal resonance, which I'm actually grateful for. I'm glad I can't relate to this song. I feel very lucky. But yes, it would definitely rank differently if I did have some kinds of experiences like this where I had struggled in these ways.
That's fair. I just thought because it was low and you said you didn't have any experience, I was like, and like I rated it higher, but it's because I have, similar direct experience related with the subject. So I found it easy to connect to. So I'm just wondering if it was the lack of connection that inspired the low rating, or if you're just
and it's just so interesting that Todd writes that exactly in the liner notes. It says, "I hope that you're lucky enough to be among those who cannot relate to the lyrics of this tune." So you can, and I can't. And it's just a really little interesting difference that Todd himself points out in the liner notes to this song in the record. So fascinating stuff, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. This was a great episode.
Awesome. Well, if everybody out there wants to get in touch, you can find us on email at propagandapod@gmail.com, and you can find us on social media at propagandapod. Thank you so much for listening, and what a fantastic and fun supporting cast episode. So thanks, Steve, and we'll see you next time.
Enjoy, everyone.
whenever people have experiences in their lives, like I think about my dad standing over me whenever I was 7 years old trying to make a Pinewood Derby car for Boy Scouts.
Yeah, yeah.
And to this day, I will not touch woodworking of any kind because it's the same kind of thing. It's like, it's just stuff that we carry with us over time where certain situations just bring that out. And all of a sudden we're 7 and we're in like the garage again with our dad and we're just not having a good time. And then all of a sudden it's just like, I can't do this right now. So I completely resonated with what you were talking about.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So that's exactly me, man. My dad was a woodworking genius. Like he built all this shit, everything in here.
Yeah.
I can't do any of it. I just like shut off, just like I can build like little shit, but like so
yeah. But it's awesome.
He built a whole house, but I didn't help it 1 second. I'm just like, fuck you, I'm not going near you. You know?
Yeah. I completely resonate with that as well. But it is cool though that you have a lot of those pieces of furniture that you can hang on to. Because even though it's complicated and those memories are weird, it's still cool to be able to retain physical things throughout generations.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I kind of hold no grudges, you know what I mean? Just whatever. Dealing with the funniest alcoholic that ever lived. So.